Welcome back. I'm Tedward. You've joined me in my air-cooled 911 parked up next to a gorgeous new Bentley. But today we have a mission because I'm heading up to Garage 42 in Woburn to swap cars. I gotta go get the M5 out of storage. We're gonna leave the Porsche up there for a bit. And then we're gonna take the M5 down to Wild Motorsport because it has been a while since the M5 has had any good TLC. And she's getting old. It's a 2001 M5, as you know, and we'll be in very shortly. But we gotta do some work. Before we talk about that and we jump in the M5, let's enjoy the Porsche. This car. I miss this car. It's the wrong day to drive it. It's a little dreary. I try to keep this car dry. I try to keep it out of the rain. I don't let it see the salt or the potholes right after the winter season. But here we are. Can't avoid it. It's New England. You're gonna see some rain. But check out these cute little wipers. Isn't that great? So a couple years ago, I had Catchell Motor Company go through the 911 and basically make me a punch list of like, all right, these are all the things that really need to be done on the car. These are the things you might want to have done on the car. And these are the things that, like, unless you really, really want it perfect and absolutely incredible and immaculate, then like we could do these things. And so what I did was I just kind of chose, all right, let's do all the need to haves. And we took care of some little leaks and weeps. I had a wheel bearing that was dead. I rebuilt some of the two of the rear calipers, some little things like that, just to make sure it was safe and happy on the road. This highway run's going to be a little bit boring, so let's just catch up at Garage 42, and then we'll jump in the M5, and we'll talk about all of the things that I would like to do. And I'm sure Jake down at Wild Motorsport is going to find some other things wrong with it that we're going to need to do on the car. Pulling up to Garage 42 now. Oh man, I love it out here with this big cliff. There's a peregrine falcon that lives up here too, so even if you're just hanging around here for a while, it's not a bad place to be. But God, I love it when the door is open and they're ready. All right, we've got the M5. Let's go jump out to the highway, blast down, and find out what we need to do to it. Because the problem with this car, it's not the car, it's me. I haven't been driving it for a long time, and I know a lot of people get so mad at me when they're like, why don't you drive these cars? Well, the problem is I bought an M3, and the M3 basically does all of the things that the M5 and the Porsche do in a, let's say, not perfect sense, but you know, it can go on the racetrack like the Porsche, and it can do nice daily driving long journeys like this M5. So, you know, it's just an easier choice to choose the M3 when I get up in the morning. Now, this car has had a rear main seal and a clutch done many years ago, back at 64,000 miles, I think about 7 years ago. And, you know, it needs some work. I think because it's sat, just because of its age, there are some things that are going. So the cooling system absolutely is going to need to be replaced. We are definitely in a position where I don't trust these hoses. They're from 2001. Probably needs a thermostat. I don't know if this is one of those water pumps that really needs to be replaced or if it has a metal impeller. When we get to Wild Motorsport, we'll get there. I'm sure you'll comment before I answer that question. But the real goal with this M5 is just to make it a reliable driver. I want to be able to take this on long road trips. I want to be able to take this down to Pennsylvania to Dr. M3's house for a visit. I want to be able to drive out to Michigan in it and visit Chris Amos when we have little events. This is my grand tour, and it's just such a nice, genuinely good car to drive. I don't want to sell it. I've thought about selling it, and I've decided that maybe we'll just put a little bit of money into it to make it reliable, to make sure that I don't overheat it, to make sure that it's not clunking and hurting itself along the way. And because it's not a garage queen, because it's not one of those $200,000 bring a trailer sales, we can do whatever we want with it. It's fine. We've paint corrected it at Craft Detailing. We've made it look good. So now let's just make sure that the maintenance is up to date and it's ready to go, and that anyone who gets in it is like charmed by it, rather than like, dude, This thing is old. I don't want you to feel like it's old. The curse of the M5 always tends to be oil consumption. Sometimes it's literally just going out the exhaust. This car doesn't consume oil quite so badly, but what it does do is it leaks oil, and I've leaked oil in different locations. So I had the valve cover gaskets done twice. The first time they didn't really settle in. The second time we used RTV to really make sure they're sealed up. So I don't expect to see valve cover gasket oil leaks from this car. But what I do see is coming out of the bell housing, which we've discussed before, is there is oil leaking, which could be a rear main seal, which has been replaced in the past, but is often something that just doesn't settle in right either. That's a thing. I've definitely heard of people in the forums going, I just replaced my rear main seal. And then like literally 200 miles later, they're like, yeah, it's still leaking. That sucks, and it sucks because you have to pull the transmission, the exhaust has to come off, and you might as well replace the clutch and the flywheel while you're in there. Just don't want to do anything that invasive with the car. We've got new, fresh Continental tires on it. It does handle really well. It would be nice with the suspension refresh. We're gonna have to talk to our friends over at FCP Euro. Maybe we'll just do everything. Something you don't get in the M3 is low-end torque, and I'll tell you what, it's a blessing. Shit. Yes, my Easy Pass. I brought it. Thought I forgot it. There is no replacement for displacement. That is a stupid rhyme because you rhyme placement with placement, but it's true. And in the E92 M3, you've got that 4-liter S65, and wow, does it rev out to 8,600 RPM, and it's fun on the racetrack. But I'll tell you, man, around town, I'm gonna give it to the 335 guys. The N55 with the twin scroll turbo really makes a difference in just drivability, being able to lean on that throttle and move. And the same goes for this naturally aspirated, nearly 5-liter, 4.94-liter S62. It is just so charming to be able to lean on the throttle at 2,300 RPM and go somewhere. That's not the case with the M3. You've always got to get that downshift, that 2 or 3 gear downshift, which is another argument in favor of the DCT transmission. And this thing is just so at home on the highway. So let's head down to Walpole to Wild Motorsports, the BMW doctors. Those are my friends. It's good to have friends who are mechanics, or it's good to have mechanics who turn into friends. Is that better? I think that's better. Yeah, that's better. This feels a little like going to a doctor's visit after like 10 or 15 years without having anyone look at you, but I'm excited to see the punch list. And the next time we join back at the shop, we'll go through all the things we're gonna do. I expect to do a full cooling system overhaul, definitely some bushings and bearings because there's some knocks and rattles in this car that kind of freak me out. And hopefully nothing too serious with this oil leak. So don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, a quick shout out to Life of Palos, because Life of Palos talked about me on his channel. That was really cool. I was very humbled and happy to see that. It's cool when you create a thing and people watch it. People watch the thing you create. So I genuinely appreciate that. If you're here from Life of Palos, shoot a comment below. Give him some credit for bringing you here. I appreciate that.